you want to get maximum growth on the green tops. You know what they say, better late than never, right? Well, today we're going to plant our onions, and we are about 8 days late, but I'm not going to worry about it. It's a nice cloudy day, so they can get nice and settled. It is a little bit windy, but we're going to get them in the ground and see what happens. And I'm going to show you that process, and I'll talk a little bit about onions. But I want to just show you first my seedlings that I have hardening off and the turnips that I put in the greenhouse after the possum situation. I want to give you a little bit of update on those. It's been about a week since I put those in, so we'll check on those first too. This is my multi-purpose bench here, and this is where the seedlings go when they are done and they are ready to go in the ground at any point or to be sold. So the onions have been out here for a little while. They're nice and comfortable. The kale, I mean, look at this kale. It is ready to go. So I am itching to put that in the ground. I'll leave it out here for a couple days just to make sure that it's okay, and then we will get it planted. And then the collards themselves, they are doing well. We got about an inch of rain yesterday, so there's a little bit of water issues on these. That's why they're yellowing, but we can leave those sitting for later and go ahead and plant another. I'll probably plant a 6-pack of these, and then I'll sell the rest. I've got some more that are coming out soon too. Now, we also have hardening off right now rutabagas and cabbage, and then probably tomorrow, the next day, we'll have our broccolis out hardening off as well. So it should be good. We are gearing up at this point, so I'm happy for that. And the weather right now, just so you guys know, I'm in zone 8A in North Carolina. It is 45 degrees with 15 knot winds, so it is windy. I've got my windproof jacket on, so I'm good to go, but you don't stop. So tonight it'll be 32, and then for the rest of the week it'll be in like the 50s and 40s and 30s at night, like upper 30s. So I'm going to use this as a good time to go ahead and get these onions in the ground and let them be comfortable. But they've been sitting out for probably about a week or two waiting to get in the ground. So they should be fairly comfortable at this point, so we're not really going to worry about it too much. And the last thing to check on here are the turnips. Now, if you haven't seen the last video, then it won't mean much to you, but I didn't have a lot of hope for them. I watered them and they are standing up pretty good. So I think what we're going to end up doing is we're going to put a couple more in right here as well. They look like they're going to be just fine. I'm actually really surprised at how fast they have kind of stood up and looks like they've strengthened a bit. That doesn't mean that we are out of the woods completely, but the amount of vigor and strength that's shown in these is really promising. So I'm looking at the seed tray that I left out there. There's a couple more in there, and I'm just going to use them up as much as I can. And if there's any other places in my garden where they don't fit into my plan or whatever, then I will go ahead and just kind of plug them in different spots just to kind of keep the soil active and keep it moving. We also got the possum deterrent put up, so this should help with that situation a little bit. I'm hoping that he'll just stick his head into the net and be like, never mind. But we'll find out. So, on to the onions. I've been super excited to plant onions. It's like the first thing that goes in the ground here. And I'm going to show you, I did one row already just to kind of see how it was going to go, because I'm using that new Warren hoe, but I'll show you what we're doing for the rest of it, and then we'll get started. We already did this row, and I've topped off all of my beds, by the way, too. I got the nice topsoil put in it, so they're ready to go for the most part. I was a little short, but that's okay. I'm gonna end up, unfortunately, I wanted to leave this guy here, but he's gonna have to go. So we're gonna pull up this rutabaga, and then we're gonna I plant them on double rows in a square foot. So we have another square foot here and another square foot here. And I think for today, what I'm gonna do is I'm only gonna plant these 2 back rows, and that's basically for preservation of the back rows. In my experience in my garden, the way the sun grows, or the sun goes, is it comes around and then it comes right here and it beats down. This is where we get the majority of our sun, right? Because you can see all the trees and stuff. So as it beats down, what I try and do, I've been trying to past a couple of years, is plant a back row, let it get a little bit more established. Maybe even a couple of days is all it takes, just so it can kind of take off sooner, and then work my way forward so nothing gets shaded out, because I've had issues where I go ahead and it's all in my mind where I walk up to the front of my garden here and I just want to plant from the front back. And as you can see, if the sun's coming through, it's just going to shade out. So we're going to do the back 2 rows today. I've already done one, so we're going to do one more. And then in a couple days, we're supposed to get rain again in 2 days. Not a lot, but just enough. So after that rain, I'll probably come back, and especially seeing how these seedlings do. Once they get kind of comfortable, then we can start planting. But I'm going to show you how I take them out of that 162 tray, because it is kind of a pain. And the reason why it's a pain is because we got about 1.5 inches of rain yesterday. So I didn't want to plant it yesterday, obviously, but now that the soil is real wet, it's swelled up and it's kind of keeping it into the tray. First thing you need is you need your official seedling remover stick. Okay, you got to have one stick that's official. So this one's been approved by the Gardening Society, this specific stick has, so, you know, make it happen. But what I'm going to do is I take it, and in these holes, I'll just push it through, and then at the same time I'll kind of pull, I'll just give it a little snug at the top. So let's see if I can do this so you can see it. So we're just going to push, and then once it gives it a little bit, then you'll pull. And so there you go. The thing is with the onions, why they're so awesome is because you can put multiples in a container, and just so you can see, they pull apart really easy, and they don't even, I'm not even like tugging on them at all. I mean, the roots don't even break. See that? They just come right apart. You get full root systems for each seedling. So we'll go through and we'll make a little pile here, and then it's time to put them into their comfortable spot for the next few months. So yeah, onions are going to be the ones that stay in the garden almost just about as long as sweet potatoes. So they'll be a staple in the garden for a long time to come. So here's where things get a little bit different from other things that I plant. So usually I make my furrows like that, and then I'm gonna put fertilizer in it. But I'm gonna put 2 kinds of fertilizer in, and I'm gonna tell you why. Put a granular fertilizer in, or this one I'm using actually is pellet. I'm gonna try and start switching over to a pellet if I can find one that's a little bit more affordable than what I'm using. And then I'm also going to add in about that much blood meal to both of those rows. So this is an 851 pellet fertilizer that I'm using, and then the blood meal is just straight nitrogen. And so the story with the onions is right now, while they're growing, you want to get maximum growth on the green tops. So you want them to be just growing and growing, because the bigger the green tops, the bigger the onion. So remember that, and that goes for all onions. So we're gonna put these in. I don't really measure the granules very much. I just kind of do it by feel. I just wanna get something in there, but the reason why I'm doing so much now is because both of these are organic fertilizers, so they take time to break down in the soil so that they can be used for the plant. So what we're gonna do is the pelletized fertilizer, as soon as it gets wet, it starts to open up and break down. So that'll just help, it gets there a little bit faster. But the blood meal, it actually has to start to decompose within the soil first. So I keep saying granular, this pelleted fertilizer will break down first, but then afterwards, that blood meal will kick in and give it that second boost. And then by that time, you know, it'll be a month or 2, I can come back and then re-fertilize as needed, just side dress or whatever. So this will get it a good start.
Just imagine what our love could be. You belong here with me.
You are done and you have, let's say you have a little bit left in your cup, it is a must. If you want your vegetables to grow, you just go like this. and throw it out in the garden random. I'm telling you, it works every time. Every time. So that's all about one row of that tray right there. Or it is one row. And that's just broken apart, ready to go. And then here are just my kind of pile of stuff that, like, yeah, you know, doesn't look the strongest. So why put something weak in the garden when you're just gonna fight it when you have plenty to go? And just before anybody asks why am I planting so many onions, because damn it, I want some Valdelia onion rings next year. And I'm gonna go ahead and warn you guys right now. But when I get my first harvest off of these, when I start, the first thing I'm doing is making some onion rings. That's right. Gotta have them. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna place these in the ground. And I do 4 per square foot, and then we'll come back and cover them. So, and it's rough. I don't have my garden marked out per square foot, so if we have to, we will definitely trim these out. But for right now, this is gonna work just fine. I have a technique about getting them into the ground straight, and I just showed you, but I want to like talk you through it just briefly so you can see, because when you put them down, lay them in the furrow, they just kind of lay down, but you want to be standing up straight, right? So let me show you kind of how my fingers work. Is make sure the furrow is deep enough. Right here it was shallow because that rutabaga is right there, so I'll just make it a little bit deeper, and then I push it with this finger so it stands up, and then at the same time I push that side and then push this side and just lightly pack it, and then it stands up. So you want it to push, cover the side that it's laying on, and then stand it up. There are 64 onions from here over, and then we'll be adding another 32 right here. So a total of, I don't know, what is that, 96 onions maybe? Never do math in public. And I didn't want to put them in this bed originally. I wanted to put them in a different bed, but as I thought about it, I wanted to put my garlic and my onions together. I wanted to keep the allium family together. And then that way, when I harvest all of these, which they should all come out in around June. So, you know, you're talking 6 months right now, 5 months. Then this whole bed will be ready for something else to be planted. So it gives me plenty of time to figure out what I want to put into that bed. So it's just kind of a little bit of an adjustment on my plan, which on the next video, I'm going to definitely show you my garden plan. We have the Planter app is sponsoring the Backyard Gardens podcast right now. And not only are they sponsoring it, but I also have been using it for a couple of years. So I'll show you my garden plans on that too, and how this is all gonna kind of unfold as we get closer to spring. So stay tuned for that. It should hopefully come out this week. If not this week, then early next week. So we'll see. My son's got strep throat right now, so there is that. It is not COVID, so that is good. And providing I don't catch it, because, you know, the second he gets sick, he's all up on me, and it's tough. But so yeah, in a couple days, we'll come back, and then we will plant that last row. Even though we got a bunch of rain yesterday, we got like 1.5 inches of rain, and we're supposed to get another inch tomorrow, I'm still gonna come by with a watering can and then just water it in, because what I want it to do is I want the soil to work around the roots and work in. And with that initial watering, if we were to get a downpour or something, it'll help eliminate that and any runoff. So we'll come back through and we'll do a watering and just get that soil worked in around those roots a little bit, and then it's off to the races. So feed your onions well. Don't trim the tops once they get outside. Feed your onions well. They take a lot of nitrogen. So once they start, and I'll go over this again once it starts bulbing, but once they start bulbing, stop feeding altogether and just let the bulb be created. And then that's going to give you, hopefully, a great harvest. We'll see. 96 onions, here we come.